Hey there, how there, ho there, it's Jeff Cutter Diamond welcoming to yet another Cutter Top 10 MLB video. And today we're going to be taking a look at the top 10 MLB stadiums of all time. There are some crackers in here, if you will. And that meaning that, you know, in the good positivity and all that. There are some bad stadiums and all that. So you won't hear Oakland Coliseum, you won't hear the old Comiskey Park, all that. So yeah, that's just how it goes. So anyway, we're going to be looking at the top 10 of these great stadiums and talk about them in a positive view. Number 10 is Oracle Park in San Francisco. San Francisco's got a picturesque ballpark, if you will, with McCovey Cove over the right field fence, the bay view, strong sight lines, waterfront setting, the big Coke bottle with the big ball and glove, and, you know, that building in right field and of course splash hits and everything else. It's a pretty good park. I mean, it does take over the feeling of Candlestick Park, which was one of the worst stadiums around. I mean, they got San Francisco was dumping off this piece of land, and apparently, when the surveyor came by and said, "Yeah, this is a great place to play," that was in the daytime when the winds were not off of Candlestick Point, but at night it was terrible. It was so terrible that you had the Stu Miller being blown off the mound and all that. And they had to give away these Cracker Jack pins, the Quadus candlestick, every time that you come through and watch an extra evening game. So weird. Number 9 is PNC Park in Pittsburgh. Three River Stadium wasn't half bad, but it just wasn't built for baseball. It was more for football. PNC Park was legendary. It's got its intimate layout. You got the Roberto Clemente Bridge as a backdrop. You have the 21-foot wall in right field because of Clemente's number 21. Skyline views and great baseball sight lines. Pittsburgh did a good thing getting rid of Three River Stadium for both the baseball and the football team. As Heinz Field, I still call it Heinz Field. I'm not calling it Acrisure. Came through, but yeah, PNC Park's pretty good and all that. And the Pirates started to do well. That there's even the center field grass manicured with pirates in block letters. That's actually pretty impressive. But yeah, PNC Park's got some great views of the Roberto Clemente Bridge. Number 8 is Oriole Park at Camden Yards. This started the neoclassic throwback stadiums that you see many of, like, San Diego Petco Park, for example. That was a good one. But yeah, this led it at 92. Baltimore didn't want to build like a multi-use stadium. They just wanted a normal baseball stadium to get rid of Memorial Stadium, of course. The whole Memorial Stadium thing was why the Baltimore Colts were trying to leave town and left for Indianapolis. But yeah, the Orioles finally moved out of Baltimore Memorial Stadium in 91. And in 92, Camden Yards opened, and it was a modern stadium design, proving that new ballparks can be intimate, urban, retro, and connected to the city. Especially the fact that past the right field wall, you have the long ass B&O warehouse where Ken Griffey Jr. hit a home run in the home run derby in '93 when the Orioles hosted the All Star game. Camden Yards isn't half bad and all that. It actually had to play a game with 0 fans in it, and it wasn't because of COVID. Because Baltimore had some massive riots and all that, they had to put a curfew, and that meant that the Orioles had to play a game against the White Sox with nobody playing, except for, well, nobody in the stands, except for maybe staff members and a few other people. But yeah, and it built like the modern stadium, like Coors Field. It had good ballpark sites and all that. It made you want to do that. Number 7 is Tiger Stadium. I know that Tiger Stadium isn't really one of the best parks around, most people say, but it was good. It had an enclosed urban ballpark feeling, upper deck intimacy, and many years of baseball history. The stadium opened in 1912, the same day as another park on this list, which I'll talk about later. But Tiger Stadium was pretty impressive and all that. Well, I mean, the site of Tiger Stadium always had a baseball field on it since 1901 when the Tigers started playing. But the current, well, the one Tiger Stadium at Michigan at Turnbull in 1912, they put the second deck, they put the right field upper deck overhanging the first deck in right field, which meant that home runs can easily go into the second level more so than if it went just past the fence in right field. And it had the center field that was 440 feet. Of course, in modern ballparks, you can't have more than 400 feet unless you have good reason. And you had that flagpole at Tiger Stadium that was in play. It kind of felt like Tal's Hill in Houston. So anyway, Tiger Stadium was pretty impressive. You could hit the ball over the roof or onto the roof. Like Cecil Fielder knocked one way deep over the left field roof in 1990. Reggie Jackson knocked one off the transformer of the right field roof during the 1971 All-Star game in Detroit, and it was big. Even Robert Fick, the last game at Tiger Stadium in 1999, he hit a grand slam that actually bounced off the roof. Yeah, Robert Fick of all people. But yeah, Tiger Stadium was intimate. It lasted 87 years, which was pretty good until they moved to Comerica in 2000. And well, that was pretty impressive and all that. Tiger Stadium, of course, being the epicenter of the Detroit race riots, and then of course Jose Feliciano's rendition of the Star Spangled Banner in Game 4 in 1968 that actually pissed off a lot of people because it was not done properly. Number 6 is the Polo Grounds. I know you'll be thinking you're full of it, Cutter, but the Polo Grounds had a good feeling. The unusual shape, the deep center field, it was great. Remember, baseball history is not just the past like 30 or 35 years, it's the old school thing. 4 Polo Ground stadiums were built, in a sense. But yeah, this was it. And of course, polo was not played at the Polo Grounds. But they wanted to. Yeah, you had that craziness. You had the outfield dimensions that were amazing, like 270 feet down the line, left and right. And in center field was 440 plus feet. It was amazing. I mean, Polo Grounds, hosted football too with the New York Giants and the New York Jets. And even the Mets came in 1962. Once the Giants left for San Francisco, the ballpark was empty, but they had football. They put the New York Jets at the Polo Grounds, and then they put the New York Mets at the Polo Grounds for a few years. And it was just amazing to see the Polo Grounds still existing after the Giants moved out. And of course, deep center field. If it wasn't for the very deep center field, Vic Wertz would have hit a massive home run, and maybe Cleveland wins the 1954 World Series and all that. And Willie Mays doesn't make the catch and all that. But yeah, it was an unusual shape, unusual dimensions. The clubhouse in center field that served as the spine ground in 1951 when the Giants were trying to chase the Dodgers for the NL pennant. Now to note, yes, that was the shot heard around the world and the great home run by Bobby Thompson, and that a Dodger fan actually wanted to catch Ross Hodges crying on the radio, so he asked his mom to record it for him, and it actually worked out to be one of the greatest things ever. And Lawrence Goldberg, as the guy was, sent it to Ross Hodges for a big package of Chesterfield cigarettes, and all says you got to have this, and that's one of the earliest broadcast calls to be put in place to be recorded. Yeah, the Polo Grounds was actually pretty good. It had some kind of feeling. And heck, I mean, it's in MLB The Show, so why wouldn't it be up there? Number 5 is Ebbets Field. Ebbets Field was big. I mean, you had the Giants moving to San Francisco and the Brooklyn Dodgers moving to Los Angeles. But yeah, Ebbets Field was pretty good. It's one of the most romanticized parks with its small field, the tight urban footprint, the passionate Brooklyn crowds, because Brooklyn basically was kind of the forgotten part of the boroughs of New York City, and Jackie Robinson era significance. It's of course home to that curved right field fence that looks like a skateboard ramp, and the sign on the bottom of the scoreboard from Apes Dark Suits. Hit it here, win a free suit. Hit here, win suit. Of course, they purposely put it down below so that no one could get to it on the fly. So yeah, Ebbets Field had some great moves. One of the first outdoor night games was in Brooklyn. It looked good. I mean, the Dodgers were big in the 1950s and looked pretty good winning a title. Unfortunately, Ebbets Field, well, it was built in 1912, but Ebbets Field would basically be blown out of proportion because of the Brooklyn people and the fact that this is what 5 reasons why says, and not me personally, says that Brooklyn's minority population kind of, you know, people didn't want to go see those people like the Puerto Ricans and all that. But, that was it. The urban plight actually ruined it, Brooklyn, because now that you had poorer people moving to Brooklyn, it could cause trouble and cause a lot of havoc. I mean, that's just pure stupidity sometimes. But yeah, Brooklyn left because Robert Moses, the city comptroller for New York City, refused to put a new Brooklyn stadium, even well with a dome, even without a dome stadium, in where they want it. Robert Moses wanted it in Flushing, where the Mets had Shea Stadium. Well, would build Shea Stadium, so basically he controlled a lot of things, and he had the trouble with O'Malley, and then that's when Los Angeles swooped in and took the Dodgers away. Speaking of the Dodgers, number 4 is another Dodgers team, the LA Dodgers, Chavez Ravine. Dodger Stadium has been around since 1962. Mid-century design, huge crowds, mountain views, and a strong sense of community. Now, a lot of people forget that the Dodgers didn't start at Dodger Stadium after coming over from Brooklyn. They played 3 seasons in the LA Coliseum, which, let's face it, was one of the worst baseball stadiums of all time. 250 feet down the line, left and right field. Center field was like 400 feet. It was like massive. It was like the LA Coliseum, like in center field, and the seats, the closest seat was like 200 feet away. And this is in a baseball stadium. I mean, a lot of people joke about exhibition stadium in T Dot, having those football bleachers for the Argos, but yet the baseball field, half the football field was taken over by the baseball field, and then the rest was portioned off, and you couldn't get any fandom. But yeah, Dodger Stadium came through in 1962 and had the design, although it took a lot of Mexicans out of there, which was stupid. But Dodger Stadium still has it. Every year they clean the ballpark, they paint the ballpark, they do everything possible. Of course, the fans, sometimes are fickle. They'll come late, they'll leave early, whatever. But yeah, Dodger Stadium is home to many World Series titles and, of course, home to the 2-time world champions as of this taping. So what's wrong with that? Nothing. Number 3 is the old Yankee Stadium. Everyone knows about the new Yankee Stadium that was built in 2009 until 2026. That's a pretty good stadium. It's got the big monster scoreboard. They for a while had the manual scoreboards in left and right field, like the manual scoreboards, but have changed it to video boards now, which is stupid. But yeah, old Yankee Stadium had it. People forget that the Yankees never started their tenure at Yankee Stadium. They had a few stadiums. They even shared the polo grounds with the Giants. And then in 1923, they were basically kicked out because the Giants were jealous of the Yankees' success, despite the fact Giants had won a few World Series at the Yankees' expense. So the Yankees decided to take the hint and build their own stadium, the House that Ruth built. And on April 18th, 1923, Babe Ruth socked a home run to lead the Yankees past the Red Sox, and that's why they call it the House that Ruth built. It's had many legends, World Series moments, baseball mythology. It was amazing. I mean, that's where Murderers Row took her up in 1927. Babe Ruth was picked off second, was caught stealing second base in 1928, trying to steal over the Cardinals. Lou Gehrig's "I'm the luckiest man on the face of the earth" speech. World Series moments of the 40s and 50s, including um, Al Gianfranco's massive catch in the 1947 World Series, Sandy Almiros's big catch in 1955 to help Brooklyn win the World Series at that Yankee Stadium. Don Larson's perfect game, of course, in the World Series Game 2 against the Dodgers. No, sorry, Game 5. It had to be Game 5, right? And then, Mickey Mantle, Roger Maris tearing it up, hitting home runs like there's no tomorrow for him in Munson. And, of course, the massive 2-year renovation that kept old Yankee Stadium going. And then in 1976, they added some new stuff like the Fresi, the baseball bat for the offices, new scoreboard, new field, and they moved in the fences. There was still a left and right field porch. Yeah, old Yankee Stadium was pretty impressive, having great moments like Dave Righetti's no hitter after the renovation, Derek Jeter tearing it up, the 2001 World Series, all 3 games at Yankee Stadium being classics in their own right, including George Bush's first pitch to unite the country. or before Game 3. So yeah, old Yankee Stadium was great till 2008, and then they had to get rid of it. Number 2 is Wrigley Field. Wrigley Field has the great field, the ivy covered walls, the hand operated scoreboard, the rooftop views, the neighborhood setting. It was one of the most recognizable and beloved ballparks. Wrigley Field was actually built for another league. In 1916, it was built for the Federal League, the league that tried to scare the American and National League, which failed miserably after 2 years. So the Cubs basically had to move into Wrigley Field to keep it cool, if you will. The Cubs are legendary players and all that. The Ivy was built in 1932 to try to make the stadium look fantastic. Babe Ruth, of course, with his called shot and all that in 1932 as well. Many legends, the left field pole for Billy Williams, Hey Hey, Holy Cow, and a lot of Cubs great broadcasters. Dave Kingman's unbelievable home run in 1979 that went to the fifth house on Waveland Avenue, as they said, in that crazy 23-22 Phillies win in 1979. Was it 23-22? I think it was. Yeah, something crazy like that. I keep thinking. Yeah, that's right, 23-22. But the fact of the matter is that Wrigley Field was nostalgic. It was the last stadium in baseball to use lights. They wouldn't have lights till 1988. Many parks had it. Now there was a good reason for that because actually Wrigley Field, people forget, in 1942 they were going to put lights in the stadium, but because of Pearl Harbor, they had to dismantle the lighting equipment and send it to help the war effort. And Wrigley Field was basically there. There were a lot of people protesting that Wrigley Field shouldn't have any night baseball because of all those crazies that are coming out of the woodwork and all that. Many people sold their houses around Wrigley Field when it was found out they were going to do night baseball. And the fact is, the Cubs kind of had to do night baseball because Major League Baseball mandated World Series games be at night. And if the Cubs didn't comply, they would have had to move probably to Comiskey Park or even St. Louis for their postseason baseball games. Well, there was sometimes you could play in the afternoon, but you couldn't play in the evening. But yeah, especially the World Series because 1987 was the last time there was a daytime World Series game. But yeah, Wrigley Field had to adjust. In 1988, on 8/8/88, and this is actually 38 years to the day while I'm recording this, that they actually went through night baseball. It didn't last. It only lasted 4 innings and didn't count against the Phillies. The next night on NBC, the Mets came in town, and that game counted. But yeah, it was a big thing. And you had the organ music replacing like those walk-up songs and all that. So that's just amazing. Rookie of the Year, great baseball film was filmed there. You had the Wrigley creatures in the bleacher creatures in the stands, which was pretty impressive and all that. And number 1 is Fenway Park. It has to be. It's been around since 1912. Can you believe it? It's 114 years old. Well, the oldest human ever was 128 years old. But yeah, Fenway has a distinguished surviving landmark defined by the Green Monster, quirky dimensions, intimate scale, and Red Sox history up the Yangtze for over a century. The Red Sox played at Huntington Avenue grounds for a while and then moved into Fenway Park, which was this 33,000 seat stadium and all that. People forget that Fenway Park didn't originally have a Green Monster, like not the Green Monster we all know and love today, but there was like a wall full of advertisements and all that you could mention and all that. Of course, home runs were barely hit except for the inside the Parkers. So anyway, yeah, the Red Sox left field with the Green Monster, and they built seats above it in 2003, which seemed a little off, but people liked it. And it made sure that baseballs couldn't really fly out of Fenway Park, although they could. Bo Bichette even hit one past the monster, and it actually smashed someone's windshield. It's true. You had the charm of the center field triangle with everything, that bounces off the wall in left field. Of course, right field being Pesky's pole and that home run distance being like 300 feet and all that. And then at one time, the Red Sox had 4 retired numbers: Williams, um, Cronin, Dorr, and Yastrzemski. Their first 4 retired numbers were 9418, which was a stark reminder to Red Sox fans about the date that they won the World Series against the Chicago Cubs. The last time they won it before 2004, of course. But of course, they reversed every digit and all that. Many numbers are retired, including Pedro's and Carlton Fisk's. So yeah, that was amazing and all that. The feel of the bullpens, all that. Sweet Caroline, of course, sung by Neil Diamond. No relation, of course, but anyway, yeah, Fenway Park is just venerable and all that. There were many attempts to try to build a new Fenway Park close to the old Fenway, but it's all been shot down, I guess, by logistics. But, you know, you don't know what you got till it's gone. They paved Paradise to put up a parking lot. I wonder what they'll do when they pave over Fenway Park, if they ever pave Fenway Park. Anyway, I'm jumping down in a dude.